If you've never experienced a near suicidal depressive breakdown, I can tell you what it's like. I had one 5 years ago. Now, hopefully this isn't you, but looking back, I know it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Because up till then, I was just like every other clueless entrepreneur, maniacally focused on success, but ignoring all the signs, moving nonstop from one guru get-rich scheme to another, yet still completely in the dark about what I was supposed to do with my life. But as they say, that was then, this is now, and if you can hear my voice, then you and I both know we are ready to get serious about living the life we love, not just existing in it. But how do we do it? Join me as I work with hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you to learn their insider secrets, what's working now, and more importantly, what hasn't. All to help you, the struggling entrepreneur, decode what's keeping you stuck, enabling you to live better, accomplish more, and truly become the person you want to be. Hi, my name is Bryan Forsythe, and welcome to Radically Unstuck. All right. Hey, welcome to Radically Unstuck. My name is Bryan Forsythe. I want to remind you, this is not just a podcast. This is a movement, the moment you decide to start moving towards the life that you would gladly fight for. And I want to tell you, we have a fantastic guest today, Linsey Gessner. She is a life coach. She is an artist. She does good work. She is a fantastic lady with, as you will hear, quite an interesting story. She is listening. And with that, Linsey, go ahead and take it away and just kind of talk to us a minute.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been doing a lot of listening. I think I've probably clocked, close to 10,000 hours of listening to spiritual healers and universal. Oh man, it's been a lot of listening. I've been listening a lot. Yes, I've heard
how
a
is
lot
that?
of things.
Is that hard? Because
it used to be really challenging for me to listen. I've always had a lot of energy, and I've always really had this need to be heard. And I've examined a lot about why that is. It makes total sense to me now why I've struggled with some of the things that I have. It mostly because I just felt very invisible as a young person. And so working with young people really helped me heal that part of myself. And yeah, listening used to be something that was super, super challenging, but now I've grown so, I've learned so much from it. To me, it seems that we need to do sort of the opposite of what is comfortable in order to truly heal. So just going completely against your natural inclination seems to really help, because I used to be so extroverted and so, just busy all the time that I wasn't ever allowing myself to do the work.
Right.
So now that I tend to listen better when I'm moving. I have learned that. I get into a flow state and I sort of am moving things around. And then once I sort of exit the trance, if you will, or the flow state, I see all these interesting things that I created without knowing I was doing it. It's so cool.
It's like me writing poetry.
There's so many different ways of flowing. And I'm really finding all these interesting ways to do that. And I love it. It's really cool that there's not just one way to tap in to the collective conscious and the receiving mode, if you will. And it's kind of fun for me to examine all the different ways, because I love variety, and I love the ability to try all different types of creative expression. And I really feel that art helps
So
helped heal that. And yeah. So your podcast, I listened to the trailer. I haven't listened to any of your conversations with others yet.
yes.
So what I gathered from that was that you battled depression, and I what I felt from that video was that you were wanting to talk with people about healing and recovery. Is that correct? I mean, I can offer some practical advice in that area because I've battled it most of my life.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the hero's journey. In a lot of ways, it's, whatever keeps you from, living a life of joy and purpose. Mine has been battling depression and anxiety. It's, some days it's just a task to put on clothes,
Yeah.
And so my advice about that is to imagine a life of just pure bliss and joy. And what does that look like? Well, for me, it looked like not having to, be anywhere at any specific time. Just taking away all restriction at all, just like not feeling owned or oppressed, feeling like I, have the ability to do and experience whatever I want, that. So examining that and then just trying to live that under a ton of restriction, with financial restriction, like not
Right.
being able to just, have a giant bank account, right? Like to not be able to travel, to not, those things. So then finding a way around that. So how do you, find joy with like no real, like transmutation, basically, like going from the inside out, because you can't go out because you don't have any money. How do you find joy through that restriction, right? And I kind of have, through dancing and creating things and just imagining how people are going to just love this stuff that I'm creating, and just imagining, imagining that I'm able to help a lot of people. That gives me a feeling of purpose, right? It makes me feel like, and it's selfish, and that's okay. It's selfish. People, act like they're saints for being healers and spiritual leaders, but really they're.
Wait, you're saying I'm not a saint?
Much, but you get so much from it. Like, it's so rewarding. So I don't see how that's like something to. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like when I'm doing something super selfless, I'm like, but what is my intention really? Like, is this really like a noble thing to do? Or is it seriously just very, selfish because it really just makes me feel good?
Well, I mean, the question is it okay to do something, that is selfish?
That's what I'm learning, is that I'm giving myself complete permission to be selfish for the first time in my life. I've decided to give back to me, as opposed to trying to help other people as much. It's not that, because to me, looking outside of yourself to help someone else when you're not fully healed you're not really doing anybody any favors. Because you're still broken, right? Like, so anyway, yeah, it is okay to be selfish.
Lindsey,
I think it's absolutely acceptable to be selfish. I think we need to be more concerned with ourselves. And I feel like if people were less judgmental and were less concerned with other people's behaviors, and they turned the finger back at themselves, we would live in a much more beautiful world. I think that, we do a lot of judging others and their situations when we have no clue what they've been through, what they're going through. And so, yeah, I have a big philosophy about minding your own business. Just mind your own business. Do your own thing. Like, if something's bothering you or someone's behavior is bothering you, there's clearly something internally about you that needs to be addressed. Because often when you find things that are uncomfortable, it's because there's a teachable moment there, right? So, yeah. I just, anytime I turn on the TV and see the media and how just there's so much bullying going on from everyone, from all these different ends. It's like, why are we being so mean to each other? Just mind your own business. Like, figure out why you don't like that thing. What's going on with you that you don't like that? You know what I mean? And it seems so like kindergarten teacher. That's what a kindergarten teacher tells little kids. And I feel like we're acting like little kids right now in our society. This like separateness and Democrat, Republican, white, black. It's like, it's so much. It's so much like silliness and very childlike. And I think, I feel like sometimes kids are actually more advanced and mature than the adults. It's starting to feel.
Well, I think you could make a case there, Linsey. I feel like you could definitely find some pretty smart 10-year-olds that
I think we should let them be in charge. We should put the kids in charge.
Yeah, just for like a week, just to see.
I think it would be really cool to see what would happen. I mean, what a fun experiment that would be. I'm sure
that somebody has attempted this.
I'm feeling that's definitely. I know I've done that in a classroom, situation before, when I certainly was feeling kind of picked on by a group of kids. They were like laughing and kind of, wouldn't take me very seriously. So I was like, would you like to try this? Because it's not easy. And she got up and tried to imitate me. And she was like, yeah, this is hard. And I was like, I know, that's what I'm saying. So, yeah, I mean, I think we'd all have a lot more empathy for one another if we tried our best to examine what it feels like to do what they do, right? Like, whatever it is, just that's why I like to try lots of different things, because it provides more empathy and more understanding, and that's why it's really hard for me to choose sides on anything, because when you really examine all the multiple layers of a situation, you kind of get down to like brass tacks. Like it's like you can't really blame somebody with certain conditions and oppressions, and you can't blame them for some of their behavior. It's like, it's really hard to, anyway, for me.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is, when I was growing up, I remember, 'cause I'm a little older, I'm 52, and when I was young, it was all about the United States and Russia, and the Cold War and all this different stuff. And one of the things that I took from many of the spy movies that were prevalent in the spy novels and stuff like that was that this tendency for these spies to get to where they come to the realization that the line between good and bad and us versus them, it gets so blurry. When you get granular and you start really looking at it, the huge line between the United States and Russia and, the United States and, all these other countries that just looking at the countries, like everyone is doing good stuff, bad stuff, messed up stuff,
Yeah.
abhorrent stuff. I mean, Russia is, I remember one of the craziest things was Russia has this basically a splatter bomb, and it's really shockingly crazy to think, but when it goes off, it shoots this black viscous like gel, and if it lands on you, it burns until it's gone. It doesn't
That's
blow up.
gross.
It's just this nightmarish thing that when it's just this instantly incinerating fluid that if it lands on your skin, all you really can do is basically scrape it off. I mean, it's just insane. And
I don't want to talk about that.
I know, right? Like that's just
No.
those are and the typical thing, being us versus them, right? Is that we don't have anything like that. Like that's the line. Like I remember thinking when I was young, like that's the line, like America, we have bombs, we blow people up, and we have all this different stuff, but we don't have any as I don't think we do. But
I just wish that we weren't spending our time trying to award ourselves with the best killing machine or device. I wish we would spend more time honoring and loving each other as opposed to finding ways to kill each other. I just don't know why we even have that. I know that it's an animal instinct. I get that, but we're supposed to be evolved. Like let's continue that. Let's continue evolving.
we're supposed to be evolved.
Well, to the point where we're realizing that it isn't survival of the fittest, that it's that true survival lies in how we care for one another and how we empathize with one another. That's true evolution. It's, and it's not, I just don't know why we're still even thinking about, weapons of mass destruction. Like, why? Do a fun little science experiment at home, but like, why? I don't know. I just don't understand why people. I've never understood why people want to kill each other. I really haven't. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand what anger feels like, and I guess I have felt like I wanted to kill somebody, but not realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. I don't get why we're all so interested in death and destruction and killing ourselves either. And at some point, it feels like we will move past this need to be right, to be totally right, not just kind of right, but for our way of life, for our ideals to be the accepted ones. And you're right. We definitely spend, or we maybe could spend a whole lot less time worried about, killing each other. I mean, to me, it's all about seeing the world as a world, right? And regarding, seeing the world as one world and sort of, evolution. What is your one tip that you want to leave with us today?
Stay true to yourself and do your best to have empathy for others.
I like that. I like the staying true to yourself is one of those things that just that one bit can be life changing. especially if you don't, because a lot of people that come on this podcast, they talk about how staying on their path, even though, it wasn't, very popular, or, they weren't sure about it. They weren't sure how it was going to end up. Still, intelligently staying on the path. And I know a lot of people can get wrapped up in this idea of staying with the path until it's obvious that the path is leading over a cliff into like a blazing inferno. And I'm not suggesting that. I'm not suggesting magic, trusting magic. I'm saying that intelligently stay on the path, as long as it's taking you where you truly want to go.
Yeah, I think learning to follow your inner guidance, learning to tap into what feels right. When you can use your intuition and your feeling about something, then you are on your path. If it feels good, you are on your path. If it starts feeling yucky and you can tell that something's wrong, change your direction. Just go. Like, don't overthink it either. Just move in a different direction. And then, see, that's why I love dancing, because it's almost like you're finding your path through the movement, whatever is feeling good, right? So, yeah.
Whenever I dance, it looks like a broken tree flapping in a hurricane. So
it doesn't matter what it looks like. If you close your eyes, I swear, you can feel things so much easier. I dance with my eyes closed. If I'm feeling like people are making fun of me, I'll just close my eyes. And it doesn't matter what I look like. I don't care. I mean, I have videoed myself dancing quite a bit, and I think it looks really good. So,
and
but
audience of one right there. So,
I mean, I enjoy watching myself. I think I'm great.
Hey,
so,
as long as you're having fun, Linsey.
Yeah, who cares? If you don't like it, you don't have to watch.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
And here's the thing. It's just like every other thing in the world. Like, I'm a musician, and I don't get stage fright because I'm the one that's on stage, right? And I know how much it's taken for me to be on this stage.
Right.
And so for some dude out in the audience that's thinking he could do better than me, well, I'm sure he could if he, spent the last 20 years of his life playing drums, like
You're right.
I mean,
yeah.
So, and even if I started last week, if I'm the one on stage, I'm going to play my absolute best. And, I'm not going to worry about stage fright or, any of it, because, I'm on stage. I'm going to do the best I can. Anybody that's outside that's, knocking me for this or that or the song or whatever, that's, if they paid their money or got off their couch to come watch and they want to, spend their time being negative and
yeah, if they showed up to the, like, if you showed up, you might as well like try and find something enjoyable about it. And, I think that what's so cool about art in general is that, yeah, it's not all art forms are for everybody, but I think it's really cool to like expose yourself to as much as possible so that you can, find your tastes, so you can define them. How would you know what something tasted like if you didn't at least try? You might discover you love something that you would have never tried before. It's like, give it a shot at least.
Speaking of like things that I will never try ever again, ever, have you ever had sea urchin?
No.
Oh my God.
I don't think I want to try sea urchin.
Oh my gosh. It's like if you took liver and then you turned it into like hot lava, but it's not hot. It's just as extreme as lava would be if it put it in your mouth. Like that's as bad as sea urchin is.
Thank you for telling me, because I don't think I'll be trying any sea urchins anytime soon.
Truly, that's probably the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth. So never again. But speaking of never again and experiences and fun, where can we find you if we want to find out more about Linsey?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Cosmic Flow Art. I also have a page. I've got a lot of different social media, but mostly Cosmic Flow Art is where all my social media exists now. So, I mean, I have a Pinterest page and a SoundCloud page and an Instagram page, and also I have a website that I'm always working on, and it's constantly under construction, but it's still a beautiful site, and it's www.cosmicflowstudio.com.
All right, and definitely go check out her art. The funny thing is doing this podcast, a lot of times I don't actually know who's coming, like, because you can Google, you can find a name, but unless it's a very unusual name, many times there are multiple instances of the name, and so you're like, I wonder who's coming to say hello. So
I know, and that's something I've been working diligently on. I've changed my name several times because I felt like I was stepping on someone else's toes, and finally I was like, you know what? I need to stay true to something. So, I mean, Cosmic Flow Studio is what I'm going to have trademarked. And Cosmic Flow Art, I have the domains and things like that. So I can't battle other people's things. That's on them. We can love each other from afar. I mean, because Cosmic Flow it's so universal. It's such a big movement. And the whole goal when I started this was that I wanted it to be something that positively impacted the world. So if somebody else had the same idea as me, it's because we are like connected in some way. And that's pretty cool. So no hard feelings. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. I understand that.
It's all good.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on. This has been amazing. These podcasts are always interesting. They're always fun, and I have such great guests, and so I just want to thank you for being on.
I'm really grateful to have talked with you. It's been fun and uplifting, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. That's all I can ask for, really, is to make a positive impact. That's what this is all about. And speaking of positive impact, I want to talk about, just for a second, about this idea of watching versus being able to watch our thoughts versus being our thoughts. And it's kind of like if you were to be able to watch a movie but without the sound. It's sort of, if you think about like a horror movie and you remove the violins, then you're not near as impacted. You're not sucked in. There is no, visceral feeling that goes with a movie, and it's much easier for you to just stand and watch it. And so,
oh yeah, I agree. You've got to remove yourself emotionally. Sometimes it's important for self-preservation.
yeah, and so, speaking of the of that ability, right? If you, I'm always trying to help people learn to be better at watching their thoughts versus being their thoughts. And because, as you've dealt with depression and anxiety and stuff like that, those, that skill, it's not something you just whip out. You have to practice it.
Oh yeah.
Right. And the
Oh yeah.
practicing is the thing. So this is just, some help for the listener to work with that before you need it. If you just say, oh yeah, I know that, and then you don't do anything with it, you don't experiment with what it feels like in very small situations where you're not, in a situation where you're like super stressed or you're dealing with, anxiety or whatever, then when you do need it, you're not going to be very good at it. So maybe
Yeah.
today, just spend some time working with the concept of, imagining that something that, you're thinking about or feeling. Imagine if you were looking at it without sound, and that there wasn't any way for you to interact with it. You're just like literally like almost watching it inside of a box. It's like a picture in a box, and you're just, you're
Yeah.
able to see it, but you're not able to make any judgment at it, about it.
Uh-huh.
And so hopefully that helps, the listener understand a little bit better about this concept of watching versus being. Have you ever,
Yeah.
you have some experience with watching versus being, I'm guessing.
Well, I think as an actor, especially when you learn to act in your developmental years, it can be a gift, and it can also be really difficult to separate reality versus, like, when you're trained to take on the feelings of others, and sometimes in very dramatic situations, practicing that is, I don't think, always very healthy. I think that as a young actor, I got really good at taking on roles that weren't mine to take.
Oh, really?
And well, just like living, getting too entangled in the, toxic story, like, and it getting sort of wired into my psyche where it didn't need to be. And then, having to unwire that has been a lot. So I feel like young actors need to be very careful with what kinds of materials they're working on when they're really young, because it might get entangled in their psyche. And I just, part of being a good actor is being able to take on other people's stuff. And if you're not developmentally ready for that, it can be really dangerous, in my opinion. So I've been unwiring a lot of roles that I took on as a kid that I didn't need. They were just roles. I was supposed to be pretending, but then they sort of became realities in weird ways. They would manifest because we are what we say, and I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We've got to be really careful with how we're pretending. Does that make sense at all?
Well, I feel like it would. I mean, I feel like I understand it as a concept, but I'm not an actor. I've always wanted to play one on TV, but but I'm not an actor. I am, just a dude trying to help however many people I can be better with their life.
Well, and the world is better for having you here, so thank you.
Hey, that's awesome. I appreciate it, Linsey. I'm gonna make sure I send you a Christmas card.
Oh,
but
thanks.
but so with that, I just want to thank everybody for listening. And the last thing I want to tell you is, if you have loved this podcast, if you have gotten something out of it, if it has moved you, please hit this link, https:// rate thispodcast.com/unstuck. And
Unstuck.
And with that, I want to thank Linsey again. This has been awesome. I highly appreciate it. And peace, y'all. Peace, y'all. Peace, y'all. Peace, y'all. Peace, y'all.